Hi guys, my name is Lacey Clausen and I did my case presentation on section 8.4, which is have gun will travel to work. This is my PowerPoint. I just printed it out and I'm just gonna use it as like note cards. But so the facts of this case are basically the issue is whether or not it's ethical or constitutional to ban workers from having a firearm in their vehicle while that vehicle is on company property. One fact of this matter is that the Constitution does allow us as Americans to the right to keep and bear arms, but there's another fact that employers also have the right to decide whether or not they want guns in or on their property. Therefore, we have an issue. Both parties, employers and employees, have a valid arguable point in regards to their rights as American gun and business owners. The ethical issues of this matter from the perspective of the employee can be the fact that the right to bear arms is there for safety reasons. When an employee works a night shift, for example, it's ethical for that employee to be able to use a weapon that is stored inside of their vehicle for protection. Not only is it ethical, but it's a constitutional right to have that weapon and to use it in a situation that requires protection for themselves. From the perspective of the business owner, however, it's also ethical for him or her not to allow weapons on their property. And on the other hand, it's also ethical for them to allow weapons on their property. This becomes a matter of property rights, which are actually just as important as the right to bear arms. I have a page here that says ethical issues continued. These issues, I believe, need to be dealt with on a societal level, on a governmental level. There must be some sort of legislation put in place that allows the rights of both parties not to be infringed. For example, business owners across America have the right to say that they don't want weapons in or on their property. But while an employee's car is parked on the property, the inside of their car still remains the property of the employee, if that makes sense. Therefore, as long as the weapon is not taken out of the vehicle, unless of course it's taken out for safety reasons, they wouldn't necessarily be in violation of the rights of the business owner. The utilitarian view on this would be that with the argument I provided just now, that both parties would be morally correct by not violating the rights of each other. And they would both be pleased with the results. The issue is that my argument tends more towards the gun owning employees' rights, and that the owner may not see it as fair or agree with the point that the inside of the vehicle is not technically the property of the employer. Kant's categorical imperative would hold that it is the duty of the employer to keep employees safe, and that acting upon this sense of duty would be moral. I argue that keeping your employees safe means allowing them to keep themselves safe as well. The consequences of these are, one, those who are pro-gun would say that my argument that the inside of an employee's car is not the property of a business owner is not only correct, but leaves room for the employer to keep their property rights. Those who are anti-gun would argue that the vehicle is still on the property of the business owner and is therefore violating their property rights if they choose not to have weapons on their property. The issue I foresee with not allowing gun owners to carry in their car is very simple. What happens if, for example, someone's murdered during a robbery, or a woman is raped and murdered? A woman who works late shift and comes out and doesn't have anything there to protect herself. Would it not have been helpful for either of them to have access to a weapon that is stored inside of their car? I argue that it would have been better. An argument from the anti-gun side would be that weapons make the workplace unsafe. An argument from the anti-gun side would be that the weapons make the workplace unsafe. But I argue that if employees were allowed to legally and safely carry there would be a greater possibility of stopping the mass shootings and things of that nature that are happening, and that we would ultimately be safer if we were allowed to protect ourselves. I do understand both sides of this, though. I have children. You know, I'm kind of on the fence about this stuff. So, my idea is let's work together. I believe that if we as employees and business owners, which I have been both, if we be sure not to infringe on each other's rights and just be courteous to one another and try and figure out some legislation that benefits both sides of this conflict, that everyone will be safer and happier for it. That's, after all, the only way to create a workplace that's not ethical but moral as well, is for both parties to be happy. You want happy employees and you want happy owners. And safety is one of the most important facets of having a business. So that's the end. I hope you guys like this video. It's been a great semester. Good luck.